What's up, everybody? This is Bio. Welcome back to Bayoniks. What I want to do is talk with you a little bit about awareness. And how awareness plays into your training, how you're working with your body, and the importance of mindfulness and presence when you're working out. You know, the idea of going into a gym and just throwing around weight and, you know, with all the aggression and the emotions and you know, blasting music in your ear and everything, it's created a culture where people think that this idea of the grind and this idea of pushing your body to the limits by forcing yourself to think in these super ultra aggressive ways is the best way to form and sculpt and shape your body. But the sad thing is that it couldn't be further from the truth. Your body is an intelligent reservoir of information. Thinking from the idea of your thoughts all the way into your emotions, the nervous system, and the body, you have a connection with an infinite intelligence source. You could call it the universe, God, your higher creator, or however you want to call it. And that intelligence source has a lot of power. So basically what you are is kind of like you're kind of like a reservoir for this energy. When you are trying to use forces of ego and these type of things to get your body to do these extreme activities in order to force your muscles to do things, what you're doing is you're ignoring the actual intelligence in your muscles. You're ignoring the vibration, the energy that's going through your body that's allowing your muscles to operate. So basically, you're really pinching off the power that you have. So you have these temporary gains, but ultimately what's going to happen is you hurt yourself, you injure yourself, or basically you don't have the presence and the awareness and the mindfulness to understand how the movement's affecting your body and what your body's gaining from the movement. But when you're able to be present with pain, with discomfort, with the movement, and you're able to put your muscles under a lot of static tension and a lot of focus, you're gonna gain greater rewards, especially with body weight training, because really we're using our body as our gym. Now, the funny part about this is a lot of guys overestimate what force is and what they need to use force for. So, for example, a lot of guys want to beef up on exercises like the bench press, the shoulder press, beef up their backs, because they want to build that armor, that really strong armor. But the reality is that if you have intelligent movement, you actually don't need this amount of armor. If you think about martial arts, if you think about the vital points in your body, you know, there's a lot of very vulnerable points on the human body. So what happens is guys are building this armor. You're building this big chest because you want to be able to push people around. You want to be able to take hits into your chest, into your shoulders, into your arms and things like that, and not be affected by the blows. But the problem is that when a person isn't thinking intelligently, they're entering into life struggling and fighting with force versus force. Like I said, they're not tapping in to the intelligence and energy. If you think of Aikido and other softer martial arts, just with a little movement of balance, a little bit of shift of weight, you can throw an entire person's weight off of balance. So, you know, the question is yes, we do need muscle, we do need strength, but to what extent, to what degree do we need to build and force ourselves into these levels? Now, of course, if you're thinking of the West and you're thinking of football and you're thinking of wrestling, MMA, and boxing, a lot of people are just going to think brute force, pound for pound, brute force. The question is that what you need for your body? If you're somebody who's traveling, if you're somebody who likes a lot of activities, do you need to be putting your body under those type of stresses and those type of forces? And the answer that I concluded with was no. once I realize what I really want out of my body. I like to refine skills. I like to develop intelligence. I like to read a lot. I like to understand what I'm doing. So even with me, even if you're not a bigger person, you don't have to worry about your ego or in terms of your strength as a man for power and things like that, because your power is mental and it's spiritual, emotional, and then ultimately that transcends into the physical. So Bayoniks awareness system has a lot to do with retraining your brain to help you understand where the awareness of your true power is and how to tap into that true power and use that true power to its full capability. Now, this was a lesson that I learned about 20 years ago, actually. In the early, probably around 99 or so, when I was in college at Vanderbilt, I used to lift a lot of heavy weights. I mean, I had a partner that was working out with me in the gym, and we used to go like, you know, every other day, you know, and we just had a really consistent, hardcore workout, even to the point where people thought that we were football players at Vanderbilt when we were walking the gym. Our backs were swollen. I don't even know what happened with those pictures. We had different types of cell phones back then, so I guess we didn't take as many pictures. But I remember that time, and it was a lot of, you know, at that age, between 18 and 20, a lot of my working out was ego-based working out. You know, I mean, I wasn't sitting there trying to boost my ego or make it seem like, you know, I wanted to be this superhero or anything. But a lot of times just the idea was just build the physical. That's really what the mindset and the focus was. I mean, I didn't have a lot of internal reflections or refinements about my physical movement. Okay, so after I went through a period of very difficult times, you know, just financially, my grades were low. I had a lot of problems and things to work out with in terms of my direction in life. So I left there, and it was a very hard time, and I started really studying more deeply spirituality, religion, history, and things like that. And I had a really good friend who's a martial artist, and he instructed me on a lot of ways to develop myself with martial arts. And one of the things I did was change my diet, and I lost about, I think it must have been about 25 pounds because I went strictly vegetarian for a period of time, and I cleansed my body, and I was meditating, and I was doing all these things. Now, at the time, that was a very drastic change for me. So in my mind, I was thinking, wow, this is, I'm losing all this muscle. You know, I'm losing all this armor that I had spent a few years building up, probably from 18 to 21, a few years building up this massive armor. But losing that muscle was probably one of the best things that ever happened in my life, because I never had a chance to rely only on my physical strength as a reflection of my power and my ego. I actually had to, you know, I wouldn't say kill the ego, but I had to wrestle with my ego and accept myself as a spiritual being, and then rebuild myself up from ground, I wouldn't say ground zero, but rebuild myself up from a very low body weight again and build strength. And it was a time that I realized that my power is the willpower and the discipline. That's really what your power is, and that's why I have awareness in the Bionic system. Your ability and your mindset and I like to say, the challenge it takes for you to starve and survive is the same challenge it takes for you to feast and thrive. It's the same discipline that allows you to fast and bypass meals for 24 hours as the same discipline as it takes to feed yourself enough calories to pack on muscle. It's the same discipline. So when I realized that it's the internal I frame inside of me that declares my identity. That is the power of what makes a person powerful, you know, and it's not the physical muscles. So then when I started building back muscles again, I was building back muscles with this really strong, certain, aware spiritually sound core, and I wasn't doing it because I needed other people to see that I had big muscles. And I think that's a very important distinction, especially for a lot of guys that want the aesthetics of a great looking body and want to be physically fit. You have to look at your awareness and understand, are you operating from that solid core that you could be comfortable skinny as a rail, or you could be comfortable with packed on muscle as well. Now, the other thing is, by no means am I saying settle for a body that's less than your potential. So when I say, could you be comfortable being skinny or thin, what I'm saying is, if life punches you in the face and you fall down, are you gonna stand up and walk in the same power and the same confidence as you would if you had the best body possible? And I will admit, I've been through those situations. It is very difficult to walk with the same confidence when you're not physically strong, when you don't have your physical body together. But you still have to use the spirit and the willpower in order to exert and assert that type of mindset in front of you, regardless of what happens. There's a wonderful poem, I'm sure you've probably heard of it. It's called If by Rudyard Kipling. So look that poem up, If by Rudyard Kipling. To summarize it, basically he says that, you know, people will love you, people will hate you. You're gonna have up times, you're gonna have down times. There are gonna be times when you're on top of the world, there are gonna be on times when the world is on top of you. But if at the end of all of that, you stand up and you take another action towards your vision or towards your dreams, if you live your life, if you're able to exert yourself in that final minute and you're able to do everything that you want to do as a man, ultimately, that's what being a man is. Being a man is about taking the blows and getting back up. I'm sure you've heard that as well, like the Rocky quotes and everything. Yeah, you want to take the blows, but get back up. So that's what awareness is about. Being aware of your being as a spiritual being having a physical experience, and not being so focused on, I'm a physical person and I have this little spirit somewhere inside of me. No, you are an absolutely spiritually empowered being that has a physical shell that you're going to make the physical shell optimize and make that physical shell the best it can be. And if something happens to the physical shell, if that physical shell falls on illness or falls weak, you will use the spiritual power of your mind to heal your physical, to recreate your physical, and to manifest the power in your physical that you truly need. And that is true awareness and power.